Emma Rodriguez adjusted the pink Barrett M82-1 in her arms as she approached the elite precision shooting facility, the custom Cerakote finish gleaming under the morning sun. The massive .50 caliber rifle drew immediate attention from the assembled competitors, their conversations halting mid-sentence as they processed the sight of a young woman carrying what appeared to be a toy weapon. Marcus Webb, a three-time state champion, nudged his shooting partner and gestured toward Emma with obvious amusement. That thing looks like it belongs in a toy store, not on a precision range. Does she even know what a moe means, or is she here for the Instagram photos? The range safety officer, a grizzled former Army sergeant named Patterson, looked up from his clipboard with barely concealed skepticism. Ma'am, this is an advanced long-range competition. We're talking shots out to 2,000 meters with sub-MOA requirements. You sure you're in the right place? Emma set her rifle case down carefully, maintaining her composure despite the mounting ridicule. I'm registered for the precision competition. Emma Rodriguez, competitor number 47. Patterson scanned his list twice before finding her name, his expression suggesting he expected a clerical error. Well, you're on here, but I hope you understand the technical requirements. We're not running a beginner's course today. The mockery intensified as Emma began unpacking her equipment at the designated shooting position. Jake Morrison, a self-proclaimed ballistics expert, openly laughed while examining her rifle through binoculars. Look at that thing. It's like someone bedazzled a Barrett. I bet she thinks mil dots are some kind of makeup technique. Several spectators pulled out their phones, recording what they assumed would be an entertaining spectacle of feminine incompetence in a masculine domain. The whispers grew louder as Emma methodically assembled her shooting mat and spotting scope, each piece of equipment receiving scrutinized judgment. Trevor Collins, wearing his veteran baseball cap with obvious pride, approached with condescending authority. Sweetheart, that rifle kicks like a mule and weighs 17 pounds. You sure you can handle the recoil without getting knocked flat? Maybe you should start with something more your size, like a .22 plinker. Emma continued her setup routine, checking her ammunition carefully while noting the wind flags positioned across the range. The Barrett M82-1 uses .50 BMG cartridges with 661-grain projectiles. I'm familiar with the specifications. Morrison snorted with derision. Specifications don't mean much when you're trying to compensate for a 15-mile-per-hour crosswind at 1,800 meters. That pretty pink gun won't help you calculate bullet drop compensation or atmospheric density corrections. The harassment reached a crescendo as Emma began her pre-shooting routine, adjusting her scope with precise mechanical movements. Collins deliberately positioned himself where his voice would carry across the entire range, ensuring maximum audience participation in the humiliation. She probably doesn't even know about scope parallax or cheek weld consistency. Collins announced loudly. That pink scope probably came from the same toy store as the rifle. I bet she thinks windage adjustments are just turning knobs randomly until something looks right. Patterson, the range officer, seemed to enjoy the spectacle as he made his safety announcements. Competitors, remember that wind conditions are variable today with gusts up to 20 miles per hour. Temperature is 78 degrees with 60% humidity. Barometric pressure is 29.4 inches of mercury. Morrison pulled out his ballistics calculator with theatrical flair. See this, princess? This is what real shooters use for atmospheric corrections and trajectory calculations. You can't just point that pretty gun and hope for the best when you're dealing with bullet time of flight over 6 seconds. Emma methodically loaded her rifle, her movements precise and economical despite the mounting pressure. The familiar weight of the Barrett felt reassuring as she settled into her shooting position, knowing that soon the talking would stop and the technical demonstration would begin. Patterson's voice crackled over the range announcement system with unexpected gravity. Attention all competitors, we have a special challenge today. The range owner has authorized an extreme long-range demonstration at 5,000 meters. This exceeds our normal competition distance by more than double. The casual atmosphere shifted instantly as competitors realized the technical implications. Morrison's confident demeanor faltered as he stared through his spotting scope at the barely visible target frame positioned at the far end of the valley. That's not even within the effective range of most rifles here. Collins wiped sweat from his forehead despite the moderate temperature. 5,000 meters means over 7 seconds of bullet flight time. You have to account for Coriolis effect at that distance, not just wind drift and draw compensation. Patterson continued his announcement with clinical precision. Atmospheric conditions include variable crosswinds between 12 and 18 miles per hour, temperature gradient differential across the valley, and elevation change of approximately 200 feet to target. Standard ballistic calculators may not provide adequate precision at this extreme range. Emma quietly observed the other competitors frantically consulting their devices and reference charts, their earlier confidence evaporating as they grappled with calculations far beyond normal competitive shooting. The Pink Barrett remained steady on its bipod, waiting patiently for its moment to demonstrate impossible precision. The competition's computerized ballistics system failed catastrophically as competitors attempted to input the extreme range parameters. Patterson stared at the blank screen with growing frustration while Morrison frantically pressed buttons on his handheld calculator. The device simply displayed error messages when confronted with 5,000-meter calculations. "This is impossible without proper computational support," Collins muttered, his earlier arrogance replaced by technical desperation. "Nobody can calculate Coriolis drift, atmospheric density variations, and temperature gradients manually at this distance. The bullet drop alone is over 400 inches. Morrison threw his hands up in defeat after his third calculator attempt. "My ballistics app crashes every time I input 5,000 meters. The algorithm isn't designed for shots beyond 3,000. We need military-grade computational systems for this kind of precision." Emma listened to their technical struggles while mentally reviewing the calculations she had already completed. Her eyes tracked the wind flags positioned at various intervals across the valley, noting the subtle variations in wind speed and direction that would affect bullet trajectory throughout its extended flight path. Patterson announced grimly that manual calculations would be required for anyone attempting the shot. Emma quietly opened her notebook, revealing pages of handwritten formulas and atmosphere correction tables, her preparation extending far beyond what any competitor had anticipated for this unprecedented challenge. Emma watched as one competitor after another attempted the impossible shot, their bullets disappearing into the valley without even reaching the target backstop. Morrison's shot fell short by nearly 800 meters, his ballistics calculations proving inadequate for the extreme range conditions. Collins managed a better attempt, but his bullet struck Earth 200 meters left of target, the crosswind compensation proving far more complex than his simplified formulas could handle. "That's a 12-minute of angle error," he admitted with frustration. "I can't figure out the wind gradient calculations across this distance." Patterson shook his head as the fifth consecutive shooter failed to impact anywhere near the target zone. "Gentlemen, this is exactly why extreme long-range shooting requires specialized training and extensive technical knowledge. Most civilian competitions never exceed 2,000 meters for good reason." The range fell silent except for the whistle of wind across the valley as Emma finally stepped forward to the firing line. Morrison laughed nervously. "Well, I guess it's time for the Pink Princess to show us how it's done. Good luck calculating atmospheric density, altitude, and spin drift with that toy rifle." Emma settled behind her Barrett, adjusting the bipod legs with mechanical precision while her left hand moved to the scope turrets. Her notebook lay open beside her, filled with calculations that accounted for every environmental variable affecting the 7-second bullet flight to target. Emma began her shooting sequence with methodical precision that immediately distinguished her from the previous competitors. Her right hand adjusted the scope elevation turret exactly 47 clicks, while her left hand compensated for windage with 23 clicks right, each movement deliberate and calculated. She pressed her cheek against the stock with perfect consistency, her breathing pattern regulated and controlled as she peered through the scope at the distant target. The crosshairs settled with mechanical steadiness while she mentally reviewed her atmospheric calculations one final time. Collins whispered to Morrison with growing unease, "Look at her position and scope adjustments. Those are way beyond what any of us calculated. She's compensating for variables we didn't even consider." Emma's finger found a trigger with practiced precision, applying steady rearward pressure as her breathing cycle reached natural respiratory pause. The Barrett M82-1 erupted with thunderous authority, its massive .50 caliber projectile beginning the 7-second journey across the valley. The range fell into absolute silence as everyone tracked the bullet's invisible path through spotting scopes and binoculars. Patterson counted aloud as seconds passed, the tension mounting with each tick of his stopwatch. 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds. The metallic ring of bullet-impacting steel target echoed across the valley like a bell, followed by stunned silence, as the impossible had just occurred before their disbelieving eyes. The silence stretched across the range like a physical presence as Patterson confirmed through his high-powered spotting scope that the bullet had struck dead center in the target's ring. That's a perfect bullseye at 5,000 meters. Sub-MOA accuracy at extreme range. Morrison's face drained of color as he struggled to process what had just occurred. That shot required calculations for atmospheric pressure, temperature gradients, Coriolis effect, spin drift, and wind compensation across multiple zones. No civilian should have that level of technical knowledge. Collins stared at Emma with newfound respect, mixed with confusion. Her scope adjustments were perfect for those conditions. She calculated everything manually while we couldn't even get our computers to work at that distance. A distinguished older man in civilian clothes who had been observing quietly from the back of the range stepped forward with measured authority. His bearing and precise movements suggested military background despite his casual attire. He approached Emma's shooting position with obvious recognition in his eyes. Emma remained in her shooting position, still focused downrange as she processed the technical success of her shot. The Pink Barrett's precision had just demonstrated capabilities that exceeded most military specifications, proving that technical competence transcended aesthetic assumptions. The approaching figure's recognition became apparent as he noted Emma's shooting stance and technical procedures, his military-trained eye-identifying expertise that civilian competitors had completely missed. The distinguished man approached Emma's position with unmistakable military bearing, his posture and movement patterns betraying decades of service experience. Emma remained focused on her rifle, methodically clearing the chamber and engaging the safety with proper weapons handling procedures. Colonel William Hartley, United States Marine Corps retired, stopped 3 feet behind Emma's shooting position and waited respectfully for her to complete her post-shot protocol. His trained eye had immediately recognized the precision shooting techniques that only came from advanced military instruction. Emma finally turned from her rifle and instinctively came to attention upon seeing the colonel's bearing, despite his civilian clothes. Her military training became apparent in that single fluid movement as she recognized superior rank through institutional conditioning. Hartley stepped forward with growing certainty. That shooting position and technical execution were textbook Marine Scout sniper methodology. I taught those exact procedures at Quantico for 15 years. Mind telling me where you learned to shoot like that, Marine? Morrison and Collins exchanged confused glances as they witnessed the sudden shift in dynamics. The woman they had mocked was clearly receiving professional recognition from someone with obvious military authority and expertise. Emma maintained her respectful posture as she replied. Gunnery Sergeant Emma Rodriguez, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, Precision Shooting Instructor. Quantico Scout Sniper School, Class of 2019, sir. Colonel Hartley's expression transformed to one of professional respect as he processed Emma's credentials. Gunnery Sergeant Rodriguez, I remember your name from the instructor evaluations. You held the record for precision shooting accuracy at Quantico. Your students consistently achieve the highest qualification scores in Scout Sniper School history. The colonel's voice carried across the range with unmistakable authority, ensuring every competitor and spectator heard his validation. This Marine taught advanced ballistics and precision shooting to our nation's elite snipers. Her technical expertise in extreme long-range shooting is literally unmatched in military circles. Morrison's face flushed red with embarrassment as he realized the magnitude of his earlier mockery. Collins stared at his feet, unable to meet Emma's eyes after his condescending comments about her technical knowledge and equipment competence. Patterson stepped forward with obvious respect. His earlier skepticism completely evaporated. "Gunnery Sergeant, I apologize for questioning your credentials. Your shot demonstration exceeded anything we've ever witnessed at this facility." Hartley continued his public validation with precise military protocol. Gunnery Sergeant Rodriguez specialized in training scout snipers for extreme long-range engagements. Her manual calculation methods for atmospheric corrections are taught as advanced coursework at military precision shooting schools worldwide. Emma maintained her professional bearing while the range atmosphere completely transformed around her, technical competence finally receiving the institutional recognition it deserved. Patterson immediately approached Emma with professional deference, his entire demeanor transformed by the colonel's validation. "Gunnery Sergeant Rodriguez, our facility would be honored if you would consider a position as our head precision shooting instructor. Your technical expertise is exactly what our advanced programs require." Morrison stepped forward with obvious humility, his earlier arrogance completely replaced by genuine respect. "Gunnery Sergeant, I apologize for my ignorant comments. Would you be willing to teach us your manual calculation methods for extreme range shooting? I clearly have much to learn about advanced ballistics." Collins nodded in agreement, his face still flushed with embarrassment. "Your atmospheric correction techniques are far beyond anything I've encountered in civilian competition. I would be grateful for any instruction you might provide about wind gradient calculations." The other competitors gathered around Emma's position, their phones now recording for educational purposes rather than mockery. The pink Barrett M82A1 had become a symbol of authentic technical competence over superficial assumptions about equipment appearance. Colonel Hartley smiled with professional satisfaction as he witnessed the complete reversal in attitude. This is exactly why we emphasize substance over appearance in military training. Gunnery Sergeant Rodriguez represents the highest standards of precision shooting excellence. Emma graciously accepted their apologies while maintaining her professional bearing, understanding that this moment provided valuable education about respecting genuine expertise regardless of its external presentation. Emma accepted the head instructor position with the same quiet professionalism that had characterized her entire demonstration. The pink Barrett M82A1 was carefully secured in its case, having proven that technical excellence transcended aesthetic prejudices and surface-level assumptions about competence. Patterson announced that the facility would immediately implement advanced precision shooting courses under Gunnery Sergeant Rodriguez's direction. Her manual calculation methods and extreme long-range techniques would become the new standard for their elite training programs. Morrison and Collins became Emma's first students, eager to learn the atmospheric correction procedures and ballistics calculations that had enabled her impossible shot. Their respect for her expertise was genuine and complete, born from witnessing technical competence that exceeded their understanding. Colonel Hartley observed with satisfaction as the range transformed into an educational environment focused on authentic skill development rather than equipment discrimination. The military values of merit-based recognition had prevailed over civilian prejudices about appearance and gender. The pink rifle became legendary at the facility, serving as a constant reminder that technical mastery could not be judged by external characteristics. Emma's precision shooting school attracted students from across the nation, all seeking to learn from a Marine who had redefined extreme long-range accuracy standards. Her story spread throughout the precision shooting community, establishing new respect for competence over assumptions and proving that excellence could not be dismissed based on superficial judgments.